On a pleasant Sunday in September 1968, the graduate students, the foreign graduate students at Tulane Law School were given the chance to be introduced to their future host families. But the luck of the draw, maybe there was an auction or a choice mechanism, I don't know. I was assigned to Mika Lan and her daughter Gwendolyn, and my life thereafter changed in several ways. On Sunday mornings, Gwendolyn and I drove in her battered car to go sailing on her father's, that's Cyril Lan's, boat, which was large, heavy, solid, and needing lots of muscle power to hoist the sails. In the Lan house, there was colour, style, elegant furniture, noisy discussions, portraits, strong-minded people, and the Dutch and English languages both were spoken. Gwendolyn was funny and beautiful and bouncy, a sailing coach and a guide to the remarkable Lan family. When I went to work in New York, I went to see an exhibition by Machtel Lan of her paintings in Philadelphia. And there I met Auseklis. And I also bought a painting entitled Oyster Shells in the Morning. And it says on the back, $180. And Auseklis delivered it after the exhibition to me in New York, and we commenced our joint research in pursuit of the perfect Sazerac. I was introduced both to painting and to painting in the classical style. Auseklis gave fresh eyes, fresh insights, new critical skills, not just to me, but to hundreds of artists, students, friends, critics. And after the marriage of Auseklis and Gwendolyn, we'd meet in New Orleans, Mississippi, New York, I think, and elsewhere. And we talked about sailing and painting and politics, and of course, the situation of the three Baltic states, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, Auseklis' first native land. They were then part of the Soviet Empire. Independence had been snuffed out under communism, and there was no chance, we thought, of things changing. Auseklis bent my ear many times about the oppressive nature of the Soviet occupation of his first country, how he wore clothes made from parachute silk while fleeing through the forest with his parents as a child, fleeing from the Red Army. There were those who played at being resistance warriors at camps in New Jersey and elsewhere, but it was never going to lead to anything. I heard the Latvian national anthem sung by despairing exiles. We were wrong. The Soviet Union collapsed and democracy prevailed. I learned a few words of Latvian. One time I arrived for a visit in New Orleans at the airport out at Kenner, and Auseklis and Gwendolyn, now clad like a medical team, came to greet me at the gate with a wheelchair, as if I was a fragile invalid, and then galloped off like mad things through the airport with me clinging for dear life to the arms of the wheelchair. The evening further deteriorated when fireworks were detonated, but I survived. So we live the lives of optimistic young men, fortunate young men, each with a lovely bride. And then came the horror. I got a letter from Judge Wisdom, a friend and mentor, saying how terrible it was and how sad, but not saying what it was. So I phoned and I heard one life and a future life, both ended by the firing of a gun by a child in another house. Appalling, beyond sad, unimaginably tragic. Daughters, young girls, left motherless. Husband left a widower. A pointless, inadvertent, cruel, deadly happening. And so life changed. The family had to remake itself. The Academy of Fine Arts was a glowing positive. Young people, old people, many, many supporters of the arts, patrons, critics, teachers, friends, all were supporters. I was in Brussels, but I heard that a different modus vivendi was emerging. Children go to school, they grow, they challenge, they demand, they need loving, and they need guidance. And so the world started to turn again. There were visits to Belgium, to Europe, a sketch of wild boar and other animals, a sketch on the wall of my late father. And there were also law lectures for me which I was to give at Tulane. And that allowed me to see the family and the paintings and the house and to take in the lively enthusiasm at the Academy. The Academy was a great success. Others can speak of its impact in the city and in the South more generally. Recognition of old-fashioned mastery of the ancient craft of painting. That came almost naturally. There were awards and prizes and articles and a book which I have in front of me. The walls of the house here in Brussels confirm our delight. Flowers and oysters and feathers and ships and eels and trees and other wonders. And I also remember the posters of the Jazz Fest and other events, the logos, the quirky symbols, I suppose never remunerated, and the so many small manifestations of elegant brilliance. In the kitchen, there's a miniature of an egg yolk, and above me, as you can see, a huge oyster. Over the fireplace is a riot of colours. Nearby, there's an early abstract and a huge canvas of the Mississippi with a cargo boat in a storm. And on the stairs, a jug with a feather. They speak of many things, of course, skill, sure, but more deeply of perception, warmth, humanity, calm observation, rooted in centuries of artistic background. I'm no critic qualified in art history, but others have spoken and written of his work with authority, that quality which is so rare these days. I feel privileged to have a number of these lovely, thoughtful objects, which I cannot contemplate without recollecting the artist who brought them into permanent being. And then for all of us came later life, quieter, fewer adventures, the joy of grandchildren, the comfort of a loving family, some travel, not riches, but the rewards of professional, artistic honour, the pleasure of keeping one's friendships in good repair, as Robert Louis Stevenson recommended. I heard the sad news from Saskia just moments after sending him a clipping about an exhibition in Amsterdam. I know you're gathered in the church on St. Charles Avenue, which I used to attend, and I think of the warmth and the kindness of that church and the richness of that landscape in the south. And I think of the Academy and the family and the grandsons. And I feel proud to have played a tiny part in the life of a wonderful man whom I esteem, and I just wish I could have sat one more evening with him, sorting out the world and debating the merits of a work of art. From some thousands of miles away in Brussels, I send to you all both joy in a life well lived and sadness. I wish I could be there with you, and I am sure that this service and the accompanying celebrations will allow you to remember with joy and pleasure and honor the golden moments of the past. Thank you for listening. I am privileged to have this chance of speaking to you.